up, everybody? It's your boy 3J. Thank God for another day. Amen. Today, we're going to be getting right into Michael Jackson tried to warn us how he outsmarted the industry. How did he, what did he pay the ultimate price? Man, when I seen a few, like 2 years ago when Michael Jackson was exposing the industry, bro, woo! I was like, man, I don't think that's a good look right there. Because, you know, when you expose certain things, yeah, they're going to try to come out and get you. Michael was very smart and very brave. He was a very good person. He did not like that stuff that they was doing in the industry, man. That's why people need to go do their own independent label. Do their own independent stuff on all their masters so they don't have to worry about all that. But let's get right into it, y'all. My lips are a little ashy. Hold on, let's get in.
Black artists have been taken advantage of. People from James Brown to Sammy Davis Jr., some of the real pioneers that inspired me to be the entertainer that I am. These artists are always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would totally go broken. Record companies really, really do conspire.
And you hear that Michael said that? The fact that he had to go on the This Is It tour because he was about to go broke. Even though he wasn't really broke.
Artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can. Especially the black artists. Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division.
I have a green shirt under this, by the way. It's a little tacky, I'm sorry.
He's a racist. And he's very, very, very devilish.
I've generated several $1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And
several billion.
They really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them. Now I'm a free agent. Yeah. I just owe Sony one more album. It's just a box set, really. It's with 2 new songs, which I've written ages ago. So I'm leaving Sony a free agent, owning half of Sony. I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it, but I just did good business, you know. The way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album. And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
You can tell Michael was like kind of scared.
I'm not supposed to say what I'm
going
to say right now, but I have to let you in on a secret.
Say it.
Mariah Carey, after divorcing Tommy, came to me crying. She said to me that this is an evil man. And Michael, this man follows me, she said.
I'll turn these off for you guys.
And he's very, very evil, and she doesn't trust him. And he is a horrible human being. And we have to continue our drive until he's terminated. We can't allow him to do this to great artistry. We just can't.
Hopefully this doesn't get copyrighted because it's fast. If it is copyrighted, I'm gonna mute it out, y'all. I love the 80s Mike. That's like my favorite version of Michael, y'all. The whole 80s version of Mike. Started from 1980 all the way on. Of course I love 1990s Michael and on, you know, the younger version of Michael. But my favorite is the 80s Michael. especially 84 and 88, Michael.
Hey friend, welcome to my channel, Karina Ludo, where we deep dive and break down the most iconic stars in history. If you're not yet subscribed,
the best Michael has ever looked
turn your
was, I
notifications
say, in
on so you
88,
never miss
80,
an upload.
the late
now
80s.
let's get into this video. Today we are talking about the man that needs no introduction,
Like
Michael
Well,
Jackson.
just the 80s
Michael
in general,
Jackson has
man.
been referred
He
to
looked
as
good
the
in
king of
83,
pop
84,
for having transformed the
all of
art of music videos and paving the way for modern pop music. I know there's been a lot of debates about who's the new king of pop, etc. No one will ever touch Michael, okay? For much of Jackson's career, he had an unparalleled worldwide influence over the younger generation. His influence extended beyond the music industry. He impacted dance, he led fashion trends, and raised awareness for global affairs. Jackson's music and videos fostered racial diversity in MTV's roster and steered its focus from rock to pop music and R&B, shaping the channel into a form that proved endearing. He is considered one of the most significant cultural icons of the 20th century, and his contributions to music, dance, and fashion, along with his publicized personal life, made him a global figure in popular culture for over 4 decades. So there's a lot of things with Michael's story that never made sense to me, but I'm not gonna make this video too controversial. I just want to see in the comments if you guys can point out some of these things that just doesn't make sense, and it just seemed like he was a little too smart for the industry. I'll say that. He was very intelligent and he knew how to make money and win the rights of his songs and the rights of other people's songs. Let me see if you guys can kind of figure out some things, so pay attention, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments, okay? But let's get into his childhood first. Michael Jackson was born on August 29th, 1958 in Gary, Indiana. He was the 8th of 10 children in the Jackson family. His mother, Catherine Esther Jackson, had intended to be a country and western musician and worked part-time at Sears. She belonged to the Jehovah's Witness. And his father was a former boxer.
Always had some perfect
his name was
teeth.
Joseph Walter, aka Joe Jackson. And he worked as a crane operator at U.S. Steel.
Joseph smiles with his bottom teeth.
And come out playing guitar with a local rhythm and blues band. So in 1964, Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine were part of their father's band, the Jackson Brothers, which also included Michael, Marlon, and played congas and tambourine. Michael claimed that while they were practicing, his father called him Fat Nose and verbally and physically, bullied him. He remembered that while he and his siblings
got his nose from his dad.
Joe would frequently sit in a chair with a belt in his hand, ready to whip them into, getting them tones right. Joe Jackson was so vicious that even when Michael was in his 40s, he would tell people that just thinking about his father made him feel sick. And no surprise, as a child, his father beat him with pretty much anything that he could find, from a belt to electric cords to tree branches. Joe admitted to often spanking Michael, the youngest, because, the youngest, you're more bad, I guess. Catherine, their mother, claimed that the whipping is now regarded as a ruse. It was a typical form of child discipline when Michael was a child. According to a 2018 interview with The Guardian, Jermaine Jackson recalled his father being cold to them as children while growing up. "None of us can remember him holding us or cuddling us or telling us I love you," Jermaine said. In order to grow his children into a cohesive musical unit, Joseph limited their free time in order to focus on music, making them practice 5 hours a day after classes. They weren't allowed to go outside to play with other kids. The Associated Press reported that Michael was so afraid of his father that he would occasionally vomit when he saw him. The youngest Jackson child, Janet, recalled in the article that her father would not let his children call him Dad, saying instead to refer to him as Joseph. Eventually, all of Joseph's children would separate professionally from him when they reached adulthood, to the point where Michael would even have him kicked out by security and law enforcement of rehearsals as he got older. He detailed his isolation in an interview, saying, "Even at home, I'm lonely. I sit in my room sometimes and cry. It's so hard to make friends. I sometimes walk around the neighborhood at night just hoping to find someone to talk to, but I just end up coming home." End quote. And it is said that Michael was so attracted to other children. That is just what's said, but you guys can come up to your own conclusion, because he was so deprived of his own childhood that he internally stayed as a child and always wanted to relive some of the childhood things that he never got to live. But the group's name was changed to the Jackson 5 later that year when Jermaine and Michael started alternating lead vocal duties.
Man.
The group won a talent competition in
Hold on,
1965, and Michael gave
Oh.
a dance performance to Robert Parker's
Wait a minute.
Barefootin' from that year and sang The Temptations'
There we
My
go.
Girl. The Jackson 5
Hold on one
performed
second. All right, we back. Let's go.
frequently at the Chitlin Circuit, a collection of black nightclubs from 1966 to 1968, as the opening act for performers like Sam and Dave, the OJs, Gladys Knight, and Etta James. And I must add this also, Michael recalled in his childhood, his brothers were very popular with the ladies, and they oftentimes would be in the same room, like hotel room with each other when they would be performing and traveling like that. And the brothers would all bring, some of them would bring back girls, according to Michael. They would bring back girls to the room, and you know what that means. And Michael would share rooms with them often, and they'd have their girls there, and they would just do what they do, if you know. And Michael would pretend to be sleeping, and they'd tell the girl that, don't worry about him, he's sleeping, he can't hear you, you know. And they just go to town with the girls, and he had to experience that, which is, I found rather odd, you know, from his own account, and he found it very traumatizing, and he found himself being afraid of the act, and then being kind of shy and timid with women, and afraid of them in a sense, because he would witness that constantly, and it would be different girls and different situations, which obviously is no position for a child to be in, because he was always very super young during that time. After signing with Motown, the Jackson family relocated to Los Angeles, and in 1969, Motown executives decided Diana Ross should introduce the Jackson 5 to the public, partly to bolster her career in television. I'm not gonna go through his whole history with Diana Ross, because I already went through that in my Diana Ross video. If you have not seen that, you know, many people kind of don't like Diana Ross because they believe that she kind of groomed him, you know, in a way. You guys can go check that out in my other video with Diana Ross.
I just think Diana she didn't want to be with him because he was too young.
But Jackson's vocal technique was influenced by Diana Ross. He was obsessed with her. His use of the ooh interjection from a young age was something Ross had used on many of her songs with the Supremes. She was a mother figure to him, and he often watched her rehearse. He said he had learned a lot from watching how she moved and sang, and that she had encouraged him to have confidence in himself from a very young age. The Jackson 5 made their first television appearance in 1969 in a Miss Black America pageant, performing a cover of It's Your Thing. Rolling Stones later described the young Michael as a prodigy with overwhelming musical gifts who quickly emerged as the main draw and lead singer. And in January 1970, I Want You Back became the first Jackson 5 song to reach #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. It stayed there for 4 weeks. 3 more singles with Motown topped the chart: ABC, The Love You Saved, and I'll Be There. And between 1972 and 1975, he released 4 solo albums with Motown. Got to Be There, I love that song. Can y'all comment y'all favorite Michael song and your favorite Jackson 5 song? Got to Be There.
I really don't know,
the title tracks from his 2 first solo albums
songs.
sold well as singles, as did the cover
Jackson
Bobby
5 all the
Day's
way up
Rockin'
to,
Robin.
when he
I love that
died.
also. The Jackson 5 left Motown in 1975. The Jacksons continued to tour internationally and released 6 more albums between 1976 and 1984. Now, Jackson began his solo career in 1971 while at Motown Records. He became a solo star with his 1979 album, Off the Wall. His music videos included those for Beat It, Billie Jean, and Thriller. From this 1982 album, Thriller, are credited with breaking racial barriers and transforming the medium into an art form promotional tool. He helped propel the success of MTV and continued to innovate with videos for the albums Bad, Dangerous, and His Story, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1. Thriller became the best-selling album of all time, while Bad was the first album to produce 5 US Billboard Hot 100 #1 singles. Jackson is one of the best-selling music artists of all time, with estimated sales of over 400 million records worldwide. He had 13 billion Hot 100 #1 singles, more than any other male artist in the Hot 100 era. It was the first artist to have a top 10 single in the Billboard Hot 100 in 5 different
He's the greatest
decades.
singer, dancer,
he is regarded by the
performer,
RIAA
everything.
as the highest-selling individual music artist.
He looked hurt and tired in that picture right there.
Worldwide. His honors include 15 Grammy Awards, 6 Brit Awards, a Golden Globe Award, and 39 Guinness World Records, including the most successful entertainer of all time. Jackson's induction includes the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, and the Vocal Group Hall of Fame, the Songwriter Hall of Fame, the Dance Hall of Fame, the only recording artist to be inducted, and the Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame. In 2016, his estate earned $825 million, the highest yearly amount for a celebrity ever recorded by Forbes. In 1978, Jackson broke his nose during a dance routine. A rhinoplasty led to breathing difficulties that later affected his career. He was referred to Stephen Hoffman, who performed Jackson's operation. And in November 1983, Jackson and his brothers partnered with PepsiCo in a $5 million promotional deal that broke record for a celebrity.
One more time. Wait. We back. Let's go.
Celebrity endorsement. On January 27, 1984, Michael and other members of the Jacksons filmed a Pepsi commercial during a simulated concert before a full house of fans. Pyrotechnics accidentally set Jackson's hair on fire, causing second-degree burns to his scalp. Jackson underwent treatment to hide the scars and had his third rhinoplasty shortly after. Pepsi settled out of court, and Jackson donated the $1.5 million settlement to the Brotman Medical Center in Culver City, California. Jackson's skin had been medium brown during his youth. He had the most beautiful, gorgeous skin. He was so handsome, right? But from the mid-1980s, gradually he grew paler. The change drew widespread media coverage, including speculation that he had
wanted to grab that for
skin.
sure.
So his dermatologist, Arnold Klein, said he observed in 1983 that Jackson had vitiligo, a condition characterized by patches of the skin, losing the pigment and sensitivity to sunlight. He also identified discoid lupus in Jackson. He diagnosed Jackson with lupus that year and with vitiligo in 1986. Vitiligo's drastic effects on the body can cause psychological distress. Jackson used fair-colored makeup and possibly skin bleaching prescription creams to cover up the uneven blotches of color caused by the illness. The cream would have further lightened his skin, and with the application of makeup, he could appear very, very pale. Jackson said he had not tried to bleach his skin on purpose and could not control his vitiligo, adding, "When people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me," end quote. In his 1988 autobiography and in an interview, Jackson said he had 2 rhinoplasty surgeries and a cleft chin surgery, but no more than that. He said he lost weight in the early 1980s because of a change in diet to achieve a dancer's body. Witnesses reported that he was often dizzy and speculated he was suffering from anorexia nervosa. Periods of weight loss became a recurring problem later in his life. They also reported that Jackson took female hormone shots to keep his voice high and facial hair wispy, proposed to Elizabeth Taylor and possibly had a shrine of her, and had cosmetic surgery on his eyes. Jackson's manager, Frank DeLeo, denied all of them except for Jackson having a chamber. Jackson collaborated with Paul McCartney in the early 1980s, and when that McCartney was making $40 million a year from owning the rights to others' artists' songs. Now this is when it gets a little funny. Okay, pay attention. So by 1983, Jackson had begun buying publishing rights to other people's songs, but he was careful with his acquisitions, only bidding on a few of the dozens that were offered to him. In March 1988, Jackson purchased 2,700 acres of land near Santa Ynez, California, to build a new home, the Neverland Ranch, at a cost of $17 million. He installed a Ferris wheel, a carousel, a movie theater, and a zoo. A security staff of 40 people patrolled the grounds. Jackson became known as the King of Pop, a nickname that Jackson's publicists embraced. And when Elizabeth Taylor presented him with the Soul Train Heritage Award in 1989, she called him the true King of Pop, Rock, and Soul. President George H.W. Bush designated him the White House Artist of the Decade, and from 1985 to 1990, Jackson donated $455,000 to the United Negro Fund, and all profits from his single Man in the Mirror went to charity. His rendition of You Were There at Sammy Davis Jr.'s 60th birthday celebration won Jackson a second Emmy nomination. Jackson was the best-selling artist of the 1980s. Jackson founded the Heal the World Foundation in 1992. The charity brought underprivileged children to Jackson's ranch to use the theme park rides and sent millions of dollars across the globe to help children threatened by war, poverty, and disease. Jackson gave a 90-minute interview with Oprah Winfrey on February 10, 1993. He spoke of his childhood at the hands of his father. He believed he had missed out on much of his childhood and said that he often cried from loneliness. He denied tabloid rumor and stated for the first time that he had vitiligo. After the interview, Dangerous re-entered the US albums chart in the top 10 more than a year after its release. In August 1993, Jackson was accused of, taking advantage of a child by a 13-year-old boy, Jordan Chandler, and his father, Evan Chandler.
Lies.
Jordan said he and Jackson had engaged in acts of kissing, touching himself until climax, and oral. While Jordan's mother initially told police that she did not believe Jackson had taken advantage of her son, her position wavered a few days later. Evan was recorded discussing his intention to pursue charges, which Jackson used to argue that he was the victim of a jealous father trying to extort money. So there was recordings of the father admitting to extorting Jackson and his plan. In January 1994, Jackson settled with the Chandlers out of court for a reported total sum of $23 million. The police never pressed criminal charges, citing a lack of evidence without Jordan's testimony. The state closed its investigation on September 22, 1994. Jackson had been taking painkillers for his reconstructive scalp surgeries administered due to the Pepsi commercial accident in 1984 and became dependent on them to cope with the stress of the sensual, allegations that he had. And on November 12, 1993, Jackson canceled the remainder of the Dangerous tour due to health problems, stress from the allegations, and painkiller addictions. Now, in late 1993, Jackson proposed to Lisa Marie Presley, daughter of Elvis Presley, over the phone. The tabloid media speculated that the wedding was a publicity stunt to deflect away from Jackson's, allegations and jumpstart Presley's career as a singer. Their marriage did end a little bit more than a year later, and they separated in December 1995. Presley cited irreconcilable differences when filing for divorce the next month and only sought to reclaim her maiden name as her settlement. In 1995, the Anti-Defamation League and other groups complained that "Jew me, sue me, everybody do me, kick me, kick me, don't you black or white me," the original lyrics of "They Don't Care About Us" were anti-Semitic. Jackson released a version with revised words. In November, Jackson merged his ATV Music catalog with Sony Music's publishing division, creating Sony ATV Music Publishing. He retained ownership of half the company. Remember that, earning $95 million up front. Jackson married Debbie Rowe, a dermatology assistant who was 6 months pregnant with his first child, Michael Joseph Jackson Jr. His sister Paris Michael Catherine Jackson was born on April 3, 1998. Jackson and Rowe divorced in 2000. Rowe conceded custody of the children with an $8 million settlement. An anonymous surrogate mother gave birth to his third child, Prince Michael Jackson, nicknamed Blanket, who had been conceived by artificial insemination. On November 20th, Jackson briefly held Blanket over the railing of his Berlin hotel room, prompting widespread criticism in the media. Jackson apologized for the incident, calling it a terrible mistake. In July 2002, Jackson called Sony Music chairman Tommy Mottola a racist. Criticism in the media. Jackson apologized for the incident, calling it a terrible mistake. In July 2002, Jackson called Sony Music chairman Tommy Mottola a racist and very devilish, end quote, and someone who exploits black artists for his own gain. In March 2009, amid speculation about his finances and health, Jackson announced a series of comeback concerts. This is it. At a press conference at the O2 Arena, the shows were to be his first major concerts since the His Story World Tour in 1997. Jackson suggested he would retire after the shows. The initial plan was for 10 concerts in London, followed by shows in Paris, New York City, and Mumbai. Randy Phillips, president and chief executive of AEG Live, predicted at the first 10 dates would earn Jackson 50 million euros. On June 25, 2009, Jackson died from cardiac arrest caused by a propofol and benzodiazepine overdose. Conrad Murray, his personal physician, had given Jackson various medications to help him sleep at his rented mansion in Holmby Hills, Los Angeles. Paramedics received a 911 call at 12:22 p.m. Pacific time and arrived 3 minutes later. Jackson was not breathing and CPR was performed, and Jackson was pronounced dead at 2:26 p.m. Pacific time. News of his death spread really quickly online, causing websites to slow down and crash from user overload and putting unprecedented strain on services and websites including Google, AOL, Instant Messenger, Twitter, and Wikipedia. MTV and BET aired marathons of Jackson's music video, and Jackson's specials aired on television stations around the world. In August 2009, the Los Angeles County coroner ruled that Jackson's death was a homicide. Law enforcement officials charged Murray with involuntary manslaughter on February 8, 2010. In late 2011, 2011, he was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and held without bail to await sentencing. Murray was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Following the surge in sales in March 2010, Sony Music signed a $250 million deal with the Jackson estate to extend their distribution rights to Jackson's back catalog until at least 2017. It had been due to expire in 2015. It was the most expensive music contract for a single artist in history. They agreed to release 10 albums of previously unreleased material and new collections of released work. The deal was extended in 2017. A lot of fans noticed that all the albums and music that came out after Jackson passed, a lot of them were not even his own vocals, and Sony has still been making a lot of money from his vocals. I wonder if Michael was still alive, would he be okay with that, being that he spoke against Sony so much and was against so many of what they did? I wonder if all the albums and music that came out after Jackson passed, a lot of them were not even his own vocals, and Sony has still been making a lot of money from his vocals.
So who was singing the songs
I wonder if Michael
then?
was still alive, would he be okay with that, being that he spoke against Sony so much and was against so many of what they did? I wonder how he would feel about that. And it also been said that the Jackson family, he was not cool with them like that. He was mostly just cool with Janet, you know? So I wonder also what he would say with how they all kind of have been profiting off of his death. But it's always like that when you're an icon or a legend, you die, all the vultures would come out, especially the music execs that you're signed to. They make more from your death than they do when you're alive. So it's always in their benefit when you die, especially if you were a problem. I want you guys to comment below your thoughts. I love you guys so much. If you like the music you're listening to, the link is in the description. Comment below who else would you guys like to see. Until next time.
This was a great video. It was really explaining the life of Michael Jackson, so it wasn't really, explaining the title. But yeah, bro, that you telling me all the music that was released after Michael passed away was not him? So those were people who sounded like him on those albums? That's crazy. No way, bro. That can't be true. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm about to enjoy this meal, man. But comment down below what you guys want me to react to next. This was very interesting. I might have to go and find a video where he's actually explaining how he outsmarted the industry. But like I said, guys, again, comment down below, like the video, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.